Flurry here. I'm here today to do the second part of my February reading wrap up. So for the second half of February, I did wind up finishing with audiobooks. I did wind up finishing 10 additional reads, which I'm really happy about. I also had one DNF that I will chat about. I actually had a pretty mixed end of the month. I had some books I adored, and you guys will see that, and I had some books that I just was not the biggest fan of. So it's pretty much split the difference. Also, during this time, I did have a break. I had a week off from school, and then I went back to work in person the following week. So you will see that my listening game has sort of increased towards the tail end of the month just because I have like 3 hours every single day, 3 to 4 hours every single day where I'm commuting currently. So I do have a lot of listening time, which is good. And I did have a pretty good reading month overall. But yeah, so let's get into it. The first book that I finished reading was actually probably my most disappointing read of the month. I actually wound up getting rid of it. I donated it to one of the local bookshops in my area, but it's Speak Easy, Speak Love. Here's a photo. It was a part of my shelf challenge where I'm trying to read all the books on this shelf right next to me. And you know what? It was a 1920s like historical fiction summer contemporary following like three different couples. And I will admit I liked it. I just felt like the story was so busy. There was like so many different point of views, and there was six different characters, but you followed like 3 to 4 of the characters, and it just was hard to see whose head you were in. I think it would have made a really, really fun series, like having all 3 books set over one summer, and every book focused on a different couple. But I just got really, really lost in the details. And by the end, I really did not care about the characters, which was sad because I think they had the potential to be fun. But I think that there was just too many characters into a book, and it was so busy that they all just kind of went together in my head. So I only wound up giving this one 3 stars on Goodreads. It's probably more like a 2.5 stars, but I did like, the idea of prohibition, and I like the characters that we got. I thought it was interesting. I just think the characters weren't that captivating, and I think it was a very, very busy book that sort of was unable to focus on the characters to the ability that they needed to be. Also, directly after that, I did wind up DNFing A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins. Again, it was a book that I really just was not captured by. I had read this pretty much back to back with Speak Easy, Speak Love, and I just could not get into it either. I just felt like it was a very, very fast-paced story, but the mystery didn't grab me, unfortunately. So I wound up DNFing this. I was upset about it, but you know what? I will try to give this author another shot in the future, but for this one, it just did not wow me enough to keep reading, and I wound up DNFing it. I really liked, and that is Rent a Boyfriend by Gloria Chow. And actually, this book was eerily similar to the structure that was set in Kiss My Cupcake by Helena Hunting that I read earlier in the month. But this follows a girl named Chloe, and she has very, very strict Asian parents, and she's in college, and her parents are really adamant that she marry this boy that she really does not like. So she winds up going to this service that's called Rent for Your Rent, and she winds up getting this guy named Drew to basically be her fake boyfriend. And it starts around Thanksgiving, and it heads right up to like Lunar New Year. And that was sort of how Kiss My Cupcake was. There was a lot of different holidays featured. This book was definitely a fun read. I really like both characters. I like that we got both, characters' point of views. I really like that in YA contemporaries because I think that I feel for both of them. Her parents were a little bit hard to read, I will be honest. Throughout this book, it really made me a little bit uncomfortable, like what they were pushing her to do. But I do think it gave you a look into like the Asian culture a little bit, and I like that. And I also just found it to be a fun read. I really like Chloe as a character. I think I like Chloe a little bit more than her heroine from American Panda, and I wound up giving this book 4 stars. I thought it was a solid read. Definitely like a nice balance between cozy and fluffy read, but also with a hard-hitting issue. And I really wound up enjoying this one. I wound up giving this one 4 stars for review. I'm finishing was actually an audiobook, and that is the third Bridgerton book, Offer from a Gentleman. Benedict and Sophie's book, and it was basically like a really fun Cinderella retelling, and I love this book so much. I think it was my first 5-star read of the series, and the other one I read this month was also a 5-star read, but I just loved Sophie so much, and I really loved Benedict, and I really can't wait to see this as a season in like the TV show. But it just put a smile on my face. I could not stop reading. I love retellings, and I just love how she kind of took a, like, the Cinderella myth and kind of turned it on its head, and I really enjoyed it. Julia Quinn did a great job, and I also really enjoyed the second epilogue that was in the book as well, but really enjoyed this one as well. And then the next physical book that I read was another retelling, and that is A Vow So Bold and Deadly, and this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And this is actually the third book in that series. I think I got it confirmed that this is the last book, but this is basically after A Curse of Dark and Lonely, Our Hearts So Fierce and Broken. It was really, really good. I gave it 5 stars. I said this in my reading blog where I read it. It had so many Civil War vibes, and I just was here for it. I also like that all the characters got their own point of view, which is something that we missed in Our Hearts So Fierce and Broken because we didn't get Ren and what's it here? Ren and Harper's point of view in the second book, and I think it made it a little bit more mysterious. It also was a really interesting take on the Beast myth, which I did not anticipate. Really liked it, and when I'm giving this book 5 stars for review. And I will definitely check out more books that she writes in the future because she has hooked me in both her fantasy stories but also her contemporary reads. So definitely a really, really fun series, and a series that I'll definitely reread in the future. It was definitely a little bit of a surprise, and that's because Disney gave me access to an early e-arc of 10 Truths in a Dare by Ashley Elston, which I devoured. Here is a pretty photo. Companion book to 10 Blind Dates that was released 2 years ago. That one followed Sophie. This one followed Olivia. It's the same family. They're cousins. This book is set over the week leading up to graduation, and Olivia is the main character. She is the valedictorian of her, or her, I think she's the salutatorian of her school. I can't remember if it's valedictorian, salutatorian. But when she basically doesn't pass a class, like a gym class, because she takes it off campus, she winds up having to get involved in this golf tournament to kind of make sure that she can graduate. And her mom is away on a business trip with her dad, so her mom has her on phone lockdown. Like anywhere Olivia goes, her mom can see where her daughter is going. So she has to enlist her cousins and Wes to sort of take her phone while she does these things so that she can sort of be able to graduate on time. And I love seeing the family again. I'm from a big Italian family. They are a big Italian family. It was just super fun. I really liked it. There was a bunch of different elements. You also in this book got like the other, like you got Wes's point of view for a couple of chapters. You got Charlie's point of view. You got Sophie's point of view, who was the lead character in the last book. And I just thought that was so fun. And I really am so excited to have a physical copy when this book comes out in May. But it was definitely a really, really quick pace read. Gave it 5 stars. We'll definitely be getting the audiobook in the future. But it definitely put a smile on my face. And I really, really enjoyed it. And then the next book that I read, I think I did these a little bit out of order, was Taste of Love by Jennifer Yen. Here's a picture. This book was sort of a little bit of a mix between Rent a Boyfriend and Tweet Cute because it had food involved, but it also involved an Asian family dynamic, which I really, really liked. Overall, it also had a sister element in that book that was really unique and really different. But it basically follows this girl, and her mom is just not that impressed with her overall. She wants her daughter to find a life mate and get married, and she's really, really pushing her to only date Asian men. So there's a cooking competition that summer that her mother is running, but unbeknownst to her, her mother decides to have it be an all-male competition, and they are all eligible suitors for her daughter to marry. I like that this book had like a friendship element to it. I had missed that a little bit in Rent a Boyfriend. Like I felt like that book there was no like the book was really focused on the two main characters. This book I felt like you got a lot for about her friends or her family, and I just like the baking elements. It was just super fun. I just like how there was a competition element. I like that there was an unexpected romance that developed. It was just really, really fun. I definitely want to read more by this author in the future. I thought, again, she really tackled Asian American expectations in their children in a really fun way, but also like very, very heartfelt as well. And also parent relationships, not doing what your parents exactly want you to do in regards to dating and your career was something that this main character really dealt with. And I also liked the male love interest a lot. I thought that he was super fun. And there was a mystery at the heart of it that I didn't necessarily predict until the very end. And I found that to be a really, really fun subplot. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I was actually I really enjoyed it, and will definitely be checking out more by this author in the future. Audiobook I finished. This is sort of when I kicked into haiku going back to work. I wound up finishing Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Colin and Penelope's book in the Bridgerton series, and I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. Here's a photo. In the season 1 of Bridgerton, there was a plot point at the very, very end that this book sort of expanded on dramatically, and I really like that. I really love Penelope as a character. I also really, really like Colin, and I love them in the first season of the show, but I love this book so, 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 so much. Thought it was great. I'm really itching to dive into the next one, which is Eloise's book, because they're like Penelope and Eloise are two of my favorite characters, but I love this one so much. It was just such like a slow burn romance set over the past like 4 to 5 books, and I really like that in my romances, and I just love this story so much, and I really am excited that hopefully it will get adapted in a couple of years depending on how fast they put out seasons. But I run up really enjoying this one and gave this 5 stars. And then the next physical book that I read was A Castle School for Troubled Girls. Here's a photo. I'm actually on a blog tour for this, like at the very end of this week that you guys are seeing this video. But this was a very hard-hitting novel. The best way I could describe it is it reminded me a lot of the TV show like Higher Ground, which was on so many years ago with Hayden Christensen and a bunch of other like small Canadian actors. But it basically deals with treatment and girls who are sent to this rehabilitation center, and they all sort of have their own issue, and you're following this girl named Moira who's dealing with the death of her best friend, and that was just really impactful to me, like for like a lot of reasons. But I just really enjoyed that every girl was sort of dealing with her own thing, and the treatment elements in the school was really unique, and I like that a lot. Again, it sort of reminds me of Higher Ground that I watched a while ago, but also in addition to the narrative storyline of Moira, who's dealing with a lot of grief and depression, and there's a lot of intervention elements in this book. This book actually took 3 off of my Avengers reading board because it covered quite a few issues. But you also get like individual chapters from every single girl's point of view, and I really like that. It does have some hard hitting issues right off the bat. It deals with alcoholism, drugs, cutting, grief, depression, anxiety, drugs, a lot of stuff. So I felt there was a lot of characters to sort of remember who was who. There was also a subtle mystery that I just think was not as developed as I was expecting it to be, but I don't think that was the point of it. The mystery wasn't the heart of the story. Everything else was, like all the characters' developments. There was like a subtle romance plot which I did like, but the breaking up and the loss of a friendship was the thing that definitely hit me the most in this read, and I really enjoyed it. I definitely want to read more by this author in the future, but I wound up giving this book 4 stars. And then the next book I read was actually a little bit of an unexpected read because it came off hold of my library, and that is Avatar: The Last Airbender, Volume 1 of The Promise. Here's a photo. Goals this year is to catch up on all the Avatar comic books so I can move on to Korra. I know I don't have to do that, but I do want to catch up. So I wound up reading volume 1, and I really like seeing these characters again, and it just put a smile on my face. And it was a super quick read. I read it in like one day when like I think I finished it on Friday. I read it in like 2 hours. It was only like 72 pages. I want to get volume 2 and volume 3. I'm just waiting for the holes to come out of my library, but I just love seeing the characters again. It's been a couple of weeks since I watched it, so it was just nice seeing them and see the story keep going and continue, and it was great. And then the last book, hold on, let me try to get my book. The last book that I finished reading in this month was Throw Like a Girl by Sarah Henning. I literally just finished this. I was waiting to finish this before I filmed this video, and I will admit I liked it. I did not love it, but I really did like the main character, and basically this book follows a girl named Liv. She goes to a private school, but she's kicked off her private school team that is coached by her sister when one of her competitors makes a mean-spirited comment about her sister, and she has to get sent to the local high school. And the only way she thinks she could get on this team that she was competing against to basically be scouted for college is if she basically bees the the third string quarterback, because their quarterback has a broken collarbone. And it did feel a little bit insta-lovey to me at the very, very start. And once you get to the end, you sort of realize why it was insta-lovey. But I thought it did deal with a lot of harder topics that I really liked. And I'm definitely going to read more by this author in the future. This is also the author that wrote Sea Witch. I liked it. I love that this book had like a framework of other characters to sort of bounce stuff off of. I found it to be super fun. It definitely wasn't my favorite, but it was enjoyable. I'm also in the middle of reading and listening to a bunch of things. I'm in the middle of my nonfiction book that I'm in the reading of. I did pick up nonfiction physically reading this month. I'm still about 8 chapters into the book called Atomic Habits, which is one of the books I'm really liking. It's definitely making me rethink my habit training a little bit. And I'm also in the middle of listening to 2 audiobooks. One is The Threat by Andrew McCabe, which is a book about basically just about the FBI and his path in the FBI, but also kind of jumping forward and looking at the Trump presidency and their relationship with the FBI, which I'm really, really liking. It's very, very interesting. It's a lot of information, and I don't think I've ever really read a book about the FBI, so it's definitely interesting, and I like his point of view quite a bit. And I'm also reading or listening to I Like to Watch by Emily Nussbaum, which is just a collection of bunch of TV related essays about her time as like a TV editor. Again, really liking that. So I am gonna wrap up this wrap up. If I had to pick my favorite books out of this collection, I think it would definitely be Romancing Mr. Bridgerton and A Vow So Bold and Deadly. Really, really like those, and also Rent a Boyfriend was also very, very solid as well. So I will see you guys for my next video soon, and I hope you guys are staying safe and being well.